Welcome to Smart and Easy English. My name is Ben. I'm American and a native speaker from California. If you want to speak English natively and naturally, you're in the right place. You have found your channel. So be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks. This is a podcast for listening practice. It's a great way to do both active and passive listening, to be surrounded by native English. If you pay attention and listen actively, you'll also reap the benefits of the corrections I make while the student is speaking. This content is multi-purpose. You can use it for general listening practice and also for American accent training and grammatical corrections. For purposes of American accent training, I speak with a standard neutral American accent, the type of accent as spoken and understood by the majority of educated native speakers in the United States. This is the way a professor lectures to a class, the way a national newscaster broadcasts, the way that is most comfortable and familiar to the majority of native speakers. The student I'm going to be speaking with is at level C1, so he's advanced. His name is David, a Ukrainian living in Kiev, the capital. He gives us his first-hand perspective of his experience with the Russian-Ukrainian war, and he's currently living in the midst of it. I correct David's grammar while he speaks, and sometimes I correct him even though his grammar is correct, but there might be a more native and natural way to say something. So here we go. Okay, so, hi David, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
Good. So we're going to do corrected conversations today. And so it's going to be an opportunity for you to speak, and I'm going to correct you when you make a mistake. And I'm just going to stop you dead in your tracks. So I hope it's not going to confuse you or be
Sounds
annoying.
good, yeah.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to give you a topic. And as you're from Ukraine, I think we've all sort of been wondering how are things in Ukraine for somebody living in Ukraine. I think you said you're in Kiev. So what's life been like in the last year? How has life changed? So feel free to talk about that.
Sure. Well, first of all, I don't know, fortunately or unfortunately, we all get used to the war. Not in the sense that this is, well,
okay, stop.
This still...
It's we've all gotten used to the war. We've all gotten used to the war.
Oh, gotten. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We've all gotten.
Yeah, we've all gotten used to the war.
Mm-hmm.
Gotten used, not in the sense that we're okay with it or not. It's still, it's a scary thing. It's a terrible thing.
Mm-hmm.
But we got used in terms of we have integrated war into all sorts of our life. Like into all little pieces of our lives.
So we've integrated war into our... We've learned to live with it. Yeah, that's a better way to say it. We've learned to live with it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we learned to live with it. Because war is, war is everywhere. War is on TV, war is outside. War, like, there are memes about war, there are jokes about war. There are lots of YouTube channels dedicated to the war. Mm-hmm. Everyone talks about the war, of course. This is like the number one topic. Whenever you meet someone, whenever you greet someone, you talk about war, of course. And you never forget that there is a war going on. Like, you never forget. Mm-hmm. I hope that it's something that, because this is what happens for, this is what's true for me, mm-hmm. Is that...
This is the case for me. This is the case for me.
Yeah, this is the case for me, yeah. Mm-hmm. Because I never forget that there is a war going on. I hope other people don't forget about it as well. Because if people forget, it will make us weaker, like as a nation, as a country. So people should not forget that there is a war going on.
Okay, stop. Okay, so instead of not using forget, you should say aware. We should always be aware, but only because when you say forget, it's like the war is already done. So as it's still happening, you can say we're always aware of it.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, I do feel like people should be aware of the war anytime. It doesn't mean, there has been a lot of discussions in terms of should you like if you're not serving, like should you enjoy your life, or should you always have anxiety and stuff like this? Well, certainly people, a lot of people who are on the front line, they say that people like the civilians, they should enjoy war. No one should be, sitting and thinking that, well, there is a war, I shouldn't please myself, like I shouldn't buy new things, I shouldn't go anywhere, I should just stay home and think about war.
Instead of please myself, you can say that I should enjoy life, or I should enjoy my life.
Enjoy life, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the right one. Mm-hmm. That we shouldn't enjoy life.
Enjoy our lives, or continue living our lives. Continue living our lives.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do have to continue living our lives. It shouldn't be like, there is like really philosophical saying is that whatever is going on is just like February 25th right now, because the war started on February 24th. It's like, it's partially true because a lot of things have changed, but in general, you shouldn't think about it, because you don't know how much this war will be going on for.
You don't know how long. This. You don't know how long this war will be going on.
Yeah, I don't know how long this war will be going on, and no one knows it. It's for certain. No one knows it. In terms of the danger, it's still, somewhere it's safer than in other places, because I can give you an example. So for instance, if you're like, the closer you're to the front line, the more dangerous it is. But since there is for example, if you take Kyiv, there is no front near Kyiv right now. They have, so Russia withdrew their troops one year ago. They lost the battle for Kyiv, and they just withdrew the troops.
Okay, and let's also establish today is April 14th, 2023.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's been a year since the liberation of the Kyiv region. But it's still, there is still a lot of danger, because Russians do have missiles, and they do have long-range missiles. And I remember on the October 10th, they started like massive missile attacks aimed at the infrastructure.
Okay, stop.
Because they had a
on October 10. On October 10. No, on October 10.
On October 10th. Yeah, they started the massive missile attacks, missile strikes, that were aimed at the critical infrastructure. For example, power plants. I think they had the idea to create they had an idea to put Ukraine into a blackout, into a complete blackout. And this was only like, it didn't have any military intentions in this, so it couldn't affect the battlefield and the front line. It had no effect. I think their idea was just to deorganize and scare civilians.
There was no military goal. There was no military goal.
Yeah. There was no military goal, because the idea was just to scare the civilians, and their idea was that so that civilians could suffer more,
would suffer more.
Because a blackout means that you are you don't have any electricity, you don't have water, you don't have heating doesn't work.
It paralyzes the city. It paralyzes everybody.
Yeah. They try to paralyze the cities, and they had. So one massive missile attack is approximately. It started with around like 100 missiles, 100 missiles per attack, and the half of them were aimed at Kyiv, at the capital, because I could count on my fingers the amount of times the Kyiv was attacked from the beginning of the war up until October 10th with long-range missiles. There were cases, but they were not regular. Like it was not. It was not an everyday thing. But since October 10th, they started these massive missile strikes, and they attacked Ukraine. They started with attacking Ukraine once a week, and the half of missiles were aimed at Kyiv. So I could hear a lot of either it was air defense systems working, or either there were just explosions, like the results of missiles hitting targets.
Yeah. And so do people live in constant fear of this, or they're just going on, like you said, they're just going about their lives, however, with this sort of awareness and maybe low-level anxiety, or?
Yeah, something like this. So they are running out of missiles. They are producing these missiles, but they spend more missiles than they produce.
They use more missiles than they produce.
They use more missiles than they produce, because they started with. So the cadence was 1 week. It used to be 1 week. Then the cadence was 2 weeks. Then the cadence was 3 weeks. Then maybe a month. And now it's been 5 weeks since they haven't had a huge missile attack on the infrastructure. Because they couldn't actually. They didn't succeed at the blackout.
So it's been. I think stop. It's been 5 weeks since there's been a missile attack. It's been 5 weeks since.
Yeah, it's been 5 weeks. And they didn't succeed because their plan was to freeze whole Ukraine. This is what their propaganda used to say. But at the end of the day, I think the longest blackout was maybe. I don't know. It's different for it varies for different regions and cities, of course. If we take the place where I live, for example, I think the longest we had was maybe 20 hours. This was the longest. Some people had a couple of days, but not longer than a couple of days. They couldn't. They couldn't achieve their goals. One of the reasons is because a lot of missiles got intercepted. It's always like the percentage of the intercepted missiles was always higher than 50%. It's closer. The range was like 60-80%. And of course, this is huge thanks to the partners of Ukraine, especially the United States, because they gave us the air defense systems that they never miss. Like there are a few systems that never miss. If they fire an air defense missile, it will 100% intercept the enemy missile.
So do people still go to work? Are their lives disrupted in any way? What, like for you, what has changed?
For me personally, well, people do go to work because they have to work. We do, like when there is a missile attack, we know about it in advance because we have. First of all, we have air raid alerts. We hear the sirens, and plus, since we live in a digitalized world, we have a bunch of mobile apps that they can show you when there is an alert, when there is a danger. They will notify you. They will send you a notification.
Okay.
And you can see the map. We have a map of alerts. You can see where the danger currently is. And this is something that we actually didn't have at the beginning of the war. The only thing we had was the sirens that we could hear outside. But you don't know, there is a point where the danger is gone. And if you have an app, you can actually see the app will send you a notification that the air alert is over. They will send you this notification. Actually, one interesting fact is that the actor who played Luke Skywalker, this actor recorded the voice lines for this application. So when there is an air alert, I will hear Luke Skywalker say, "Attention, the air alert is here," or "The air alert is over."
Oh, okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. But and actually, there is a difference. There are some cities that are closer to the front line, and it means that if you're closer to the front line, there are more weapons and there are more missiles that can that are in range to attack your city, that have the capabilities. For example, Russians have a lot of these are called S-300 missiles. These are the ballistic missiles, and their range is around 60. I think it's around 100 kilometers. Their range is 100 kilometers approximately, and it's not enough to hit Kyiv, because even if they would fire these missiles from Belarus, they would still not hit Kyiv. It won't be enough.
It's too far. Okay, it's out of range.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, Kyiv would be out of range for these missiles. But there are cities like Kharkiv. This is actually my hometown. I'm originally from Kharkiv. I just moved to Kyiv 5 years ago. For example, Kharkiv is 40 kilometers to the Ukraine-Russia border. And
it's from the border. These missiles from the border.
On the border, yeah.
From the border.
On the border.
No. It's from the border.
From the border. Yeah. Kharkiv is 40 kilometers from the border.
Exactly.
And they, so that means that they can fire these missiles at Kharkiv. And the thing with these missiles is that they have the ballistic trajectory, and they usually from the launch to the hit, it takes them around 1 or 2 minutes. So they launched, and after a few minutes, you can hear the explosion. They hit, and the problem is they have a lot of these missiles. Actually, if they are running out of, for example, they are running out of like huge range missiles that can fly. I don't know, 2,000-3,000 kilometers. But these missiles, they have thousands of them. Like approximately, they have 7,000-8,000 of these missiles. So they are probably
long range missiles. They have 7,000 long range missiles.
Not long range. These S-300 missiles, like 100 kilometer range,
short range
ballistic missiles.
Okay.
Yeah, short range. They're actually short range missiles, and the huge problem with these missiles is that they have a ballistic trajectory, and so far we don't have any air defense systems that can intercept these missiles, except for the Patriots that the US gave us. But I know that either they're not in Ukraine yet, or they should arrive. Like in the middle of April or closer to the end of April. But the reason why Ukraine was asking for this, for that air defense system, is because it's capable of intercepting the ballistic missiles. Because so far we didn't have any sorts of air defense that could intercept any ballistic missile.
Okay, so far up to now, we haven't had. So far up to now, we haven't had.
Yeah, up to now. And the big problem with this. So first of all, when there are a few reasons. Mostly we need so air defense can be used on the battlefield, and it can cover some infrastructure objects. And we need air defense systems. I think we need them more to cover the civilians actually, rather than to cover the front lines, because a lot of civilians die. Like civilians die every day, because they since Russians are basically terrorists and they like to terrorize the civilians, and civilians die every day, especially from these S-300 missiles. There are a couple of relatively big cities that are attacked by these missiles every day, and the problem is that they are not running out of these missiles because they have thousands of them. And the second reason is that we cannot intercept these missiles yet. So if they fire them, if they launch these missiles, it means that they are gonna hit the target. And the problem is that what they consider the target, two big problems about their targets. First of all, these missiles are not super precise. They have, I don't know how it's called in English, the chance of something not hitting at the
the likelihood of a miss. The likelihood of a miss.
Yeah, but I think there is
Oh,
one
there's a
word.
term.
Can I Google this
Yeah,
word?
yeah. Okay, so there's an actual term, right? Okay.
Yeah. Translations is error, but I think it's infelicity or no. Yeah, something like infelicity.
Infelicity. Okay. Haven't heard
Or
of that.
no, I don't think this is the main. Well, maybe we can call this error. Yeah, I feel like it should be called error because something in machine learning has similar terms, and it's called an error. For example, if you're aimed to
Like a misfire?
One. Sorry?
Like a misfire?
Yeah. The percentage of this misfire, because some there are missiles that have the range of this misfire can be a couple of meters, but in terms of when it comes to these missiles, the range of the possibility of this misfire in terms of range is like a couple of kilometers.
Oh wow, you could be hitting a different town entirely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This maybe it's like 1 or 2 kilometers. For some missiles, it's less, but it's still a lot, because if you take a town, for example, you want to hit something in the middle of town, middle of a town, and the chance that you can hit any adjacent buildings is really high. But they don't care. The problem is that they don't care, and a lot of times they're just, I don't know what is there can be multiple intentions for that, but they do target like just usual buildings, like residential buildings, and then they claim
normal buildings.
Yeah, just normal buildings where just regular people live, and then they always have reports. So they always report of their attacks. They have reports of their attacks, like official reports.
They report on their attacks. They report on their attacks.
Yeah, they report on their attacks, and like the amount of lies in these reports is crazy, because they usually say, first of all, they never say that they like kill Ukrainian soldiers, because the narrative of their propaganda is that they're not fighting against Ukraine, they're fighting against the whole West, against NATO, and whenever they simply hit a normal building, they kill civilians, and then they report about killing, I don't know, 100 NATO mercenaries or someone else, or NATO instructors. They always say things like this.
Wow.
And people and there are zero proofs, because when you see
proof, no S. There's zero proof.
Yeah, there is no proof.
Mm-hmm.
Because, for example, when they hit a normal building, we will post photos of this building.
We would post
right after the hit. Sorry?
We would post.
Yeah, we would post. So the photos will appear in the internet of that hit, and they will just they will say, if there are photos, they will say that it's staged. It was staged, and they always say whenever there is a real proof, and there are thousands of proof. Like there is.
Whenever there's real proof. Say it like this. Whenever there's actual proof or real proof. You don't need to say a real proof. Just say whenever there's real proof or whenever there's actual proof.
Yeah. That's actually a better word, like a real proof, because there are a lot of things. Everything is on camera. The difference for Russia, the difference between war in Ukraine and war in Syria is that they could do a lot of things. They could commit a lot of war crimes in Syria, and they wouldn't be seen. Like, they would go unseen. No one will know that they committed a war crime. But when they commit war crimes in Ukraine, everyone has a camera, everyone has a phone, and it's immediately on the internet, and we can see it. And they just call it staged. They just call these things fakes. And this is actually crazy.
They're just saying it's staged.
Sorry?
They're just saying it's staged.
Yeah, they're just saying it's staged. And if they can come up with a certain version of their own version of what happened, they will come up. If they can't come up, they just say it's staged. There are two things.
Oh. That's how they respond, okay? Either with their own version, or they accuse you guys of faking it, staging it.
They don't accuse us specifically. They accuse foreign organizations because they believe that they do all of that. For instance, they accuse MI6, for example, for all of these things. So, like a good example, this is a terrible. It's a terrible event, but it's a good example. So when they killed a lot of civilians in Bucha, and Bucha got liberated. This is a small city in the north of Kyiv. And when Bucha got liberated, and there were a lot of reporters and media, when our soldiers entered Bucha, they saw a lot of just dead civilian bodies laying on the streets, and Russians immediately said that this was a MI6 stage. It was staged by MI6 immediately. Even though there are some really cool investigations done by the independent journalists. For example, I think the New York Times they did a whole documentary of investigations, because they investigated a lot of satellite images, a lot of intercepted calls. They talked to the witnesses, because they didn't kill everyone in Bucha, but they killed a lot of people. But still there were witnesses of the war crimes, and they just combined it into one story. So they took satellite images, they did research, they talked to the witnesses, and they combined all of that, and they filmed the documentary showing that the bodies were there before our soldiers came. Because the Russian version is that when it's like when Russians left Bucha, our soldiers came and staged and created this fake, like if there are a lot of bodies laying on the floor. But it's so stupid, because when the first soldiers came into Bucha, they had a lot of journalists with them. And journalists immediately, the moment when soldiers entered Bucha was filmed. Like, it was filmed. And that video that showed the moment when soldiers arrived to Bucha showed a lot of bodies on the streets.
Arrived in
so
Bucha.
This is,
arrived in Bucha.
Yeah, arrived.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. For me personally, I think the closest, it's not the scariest. I think the loudest moment of war for me, like for me personally, it happened, I think, during one of the massive air attacks on the infrastructure. It was a couple of months ago. So the missile hit, I think it was like 500 meters from me, around 400 meters. Not from me. I wasn't outside. I was at home in my house. But the missile hit 500 meters from me.
Wow, that's
and that was super loud. I heard, like, every time they attacked Kyiv, I heard missiles, but they were like a couple of kilometers away. But when it's 500 meters from you, it felt like it was just across the street, or even like the adjacent building. It felt super close. But yeah, it was 500 meters.
So you can feel your building shake?
Slightly.
Wow.
I was when the war started, I was in another city, and they attacked the, how do you call this?
What do you call this?
What do you call this? Yeah, it was, I think it was a diesel facility, something like this.
A diesel plant? Diesel refining plant?
Yeah. And they attacked this. I think it was around 1 kilometer. Like it was slightly far. It was farther than this time in Kyiv. But still, but that time it shook the building. Like the building was shaken during these attacks. I heard three missiles in a row hit this thing. So I heard it.
So, tell me about like the economy in your country. What about like just day-to-day buying things, prices of things? Has it affected your ability to get things and what you pay for things? Your daily necessities?
Yeah, of course. Prices are much bigger than before the war.
Higher.
Yeah, sorry. Prices are higher than before the war. I think it's something that's I think it's around the world is the same. The prices are getting higher right now.
Inflation.
Yeah. I think like the Ukrainian economy, it does have a lot of problems because of the war right now. A lot of things got destroyed. Some territories got occupied, and but mostly, yeah, a lot of people had to move places, and that means that they couldn't keep working on those places where they used to. So yeah, I think the Ukrainian economy, we will have to, like, the hard times will come after the war, when we will have to raise the economy again. Because right now, Ukrainian economy only lives because we have partners and we have support.
Only survives, lives, survives.
Yeah. Yeah, survives. That's the right word. Because a lot of people working, like I think all of the people are still working. You're either on the front line, or you're a volunteer, or you're working. From all people I know, they all go to work. This is something usual, just as they used to. But still, it's not enough. It's not enough to fix the economy. And plus, we have to spend, even though we are getting help from our partners, we still spend a lot of money on the military and all of that stuff.
So, are there certain things that's difficult to get now during the war as opposed to before, or certain things that you're not able to do now that you enjoyed doing before?
I don't know. In terms of getting things, actually, things that can help during the war, things like drones are much more expensive, and you cannot get them that simple as it was before the war, because soldiers use drones every day, and it was you could just come into any technical store and get yourself a drone, but right now you cannot do that. You have to only order. Sorry?
Tech store, not technical store, tech store.
Oh, tech store. Yeah, tech store. In terms of things that I enjoy doing, I don't know. I'm not trying to. For example, I'm not. Even though I'm on vacation right now, but I'm still at home. Like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go to a hotel or something like this, because it's still. Since I think about the war every day, I think about the people who are in the trenches right now, who are on the front line, and I'd rather spend this money. So I donate. I'm trying to donate as much as I can on the army.
To the army.
Maybe. Sorry.
Donate to the army.
Yeah, donate to the army, because a lot of things in our army are bought by people, by Ukrainians. From the donations, we obviously cannot buy. Like, there are things, for example, that the West helps us with that we cannot buy. Obviously, I think even if we could raise this money, we still couldn't buy it. Things like tanks or air defense systems. But we do buy things like drones. Maybe simpler things like helmets and what do you call this? And bulletproof stuff.
Oh,
not only jackets, like a lot of bulletproof stuff.
Bulletproof vests and things like that.
Yeah, vests, and there are things that you put on legs as well. People buy things like backpacks, maybe uniforms. They help with it. So there are huge volunteering movements and
volunteer
movements.
Not volunteering, volunteer movements.
Oh, volunteer movements. Sorry. Yeah. And most of the Ukrainians are donating a lot of money to military, and I think these are money. This is money that they could spend, that they would normally spend on things like, I don't know, vacations or buying new things, but now they are just donating it. Especially people are donating after the. It's a good thing. People convert anger into donations. I mean, the civilians. Especially when there are some tragic events are happening. Like, people donate every day. This is a normal thing. Okay. But especially when something bad is happening, people donate more.
So I see sometimes, like when I'm searching online for apartments, like, for example, short-term rentals, I still see these listings for vacation rentals in Ukraine. So people, they just exist, but nobody's really actually renting them. Is that right? Because you're saying that people don't really spend money on vacations now.
Oh, people do spend.
Oh, they do.
That's just my position, that I don't spend. No, people, there are hotels that might be full. A lot of people are going. I think especially this is useful for people with kids, because people might think that, there is a war going on, and why would I go chill in a hotel? And not every people think so. And I feel like I'm not judging them. This is just my personal position, personal opinion. But especially
belief.
People with kids. Sorry?
Personal belief is the best way to say that. Yeah,
personal belief, yeah. Mm-hmm. But especially people with kids are going to... They're just going... We have mountains right now we always have mountains. I mean, they obviously cannot go to the sea because It's dangerous in there, in regions like Kherson or Odessa, but they can go to the mountains, to the west part of Ukraine, and there are hotels. I think they're booked. They have a lot of reservations. Plus, people are constantly going from one city to another, and we do have. Actually, we still have tourists.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, there are people who want to see what's going on. There are people who enjoy things like that. It's like the amounts of tourists are less than before, and I think the biggest touring seasons that we have will be after the war. This is 100%. But people still are willing to see like what's going on, and they still come here. There are a lot of foreigners. Some people are helping. Some people may bring some humanitarian aid or something like this. But there are people who are willing to explore, who are willing to meet new people and see what's going on in the news and stuff. Like not in the news, in Ukraine.
So you said that Odessa is not safe. That's a seaside town, but it's not safe to go to?
It's a seaside, but yeah, one of the things is because it's seaside, and there are a lot of. First of all, you cannot like the swimming is banned right now because there are mines. There are mines under the water, and if mines might not be on the beach itself, but mines can be far away from the beach, but the waves might push them closer to the beach. And there were cases where civilian people died on these mines, just because they were told they were not allowed to swim, but they ignored these warnings, and they still swam and they died, unfortunately.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And plus most of the missiles that are flying, especially towards the west of Ukraine, they're flying over Odessa, and they will be like the first part, like the first. Odessa is the first city that will start intercepting these missiles on their way to the west.
Okay. And what about like the western end of Ukraine? Is it safer to be there? You know, where it borders like Poland, Slovakia, Hungary.
It's like relatively because these cities are still targeted by long-range missiles. Not so. It's so since it's been 5 weeks since the last attack, I think they haven't been targeted for 5 weeks, and they were not targeted as hard as Kyiv. But the thing is, since Kyiv was one of the most, and it's been one of the most targeted places in Ukraine, it's obviously that the Kyiv has more air defense than other cities. And for example, if there are 50 missiles aimed at Kyiv and 10 missiles aimed at Lviv, this might be the same thing in terms of danger, because you can think that in Kyiv they might intercept 45 missiles, but in terms of Lviv they might intercept 5 or 7 missiles, something like this.
And what about, have you thought about leaving Ukraine, whether it's, for a vacation or just temporarily, and what is your ability to be able to leave the country if you wanted to?
I'm not able, as I'm so men from 18 to 65 are not able to leave. I know, there are illegal ways to leave. And but some people are use these ways to live. But I don't want to. This is just a question of money, and you can spend I don't know, a couple of $1,000s for some fake stuff, and they will, and you can leave the country. But I don't know. I do not appreciate it, and that's why I don't want to do it. I would think, I could have think of leaving if this was legal, if there was a legal way to do that. But since it's illegal, I don't want to break the law, especially right now.
And so you could be called to service at any time. Is that how it works?
Yeah,
That's
true.
Okay. So they draft during wartime. Okay.
Yeah, they do. They had a lot of volunteers at the beginning of the war. A lot of them. I know right now people can be drafted, but I don't know. It's still. I'm not hiding from the draft, but I'm not volunteering because I feel like I can do more. Since I have never had any sort of military training, I know that before sending you to the front line, you will have to go through a couple of months training. I think it's a 4 months course, but still, I feel like I can be useful without it because I donate a lot to the army, and I feel like I'm useful. I'm more useful when I'm donating than if I were serving or something.
Gotcha. And so since the war started, have you done anything different, something new? Did you embark on anything new? Like, for example, a lot of people maybe learned something new during the pandemic, during lockdowns. Like, have you started something new since the war?
So at the beginning of the war, I was thinking how I could help, and I learned a little bit of hacking, because I'm a software engineer, and software engineers are not hackers. They're just usual engineers. They make things. They don't break things. And I knew that I could be helpful at the beginning, but it's not a big deal. I learned how to break things like cameras or something, because for example, if you can break certain cameras in certain areas, you could spot military targets.
You mean break into? You mean break into?
Yeah, break into.
Yeah. Okay, when you say
just break.
I thought break like just throw it on the ground and break it.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I may break. I meant break into. Yeah, and yeah, I think I started. I don't have much time for it, but I started taking a machine learning course because I thought there could be a lot of interesting areas that could be improved by machine learning, especially things related to drones and the images and recordings from the drones. There can be certain machine learning models that could be super helpful.
And what about this idea of you're trying to like improve your English during this time? Does this relate at all to what you see yourself doing in the future post-war, or this passion for English is something that's been always with you?
Yeah, I've always had passion for English, but yeah, this is something that I'm planning to do. Maybe this is related to the plans after the war. But yeah, it's a good thing. Actually, a lot of people, so when the war started, a lot of people have started doing things that they had been postponing before, because they realized that there is no better moment than right now than to do things. Because war, like one of the lessons of the war is that your life can be ended at any moment. Like it can be like there is an equal chance that the missile will hit there is a chance that missile might hit your building tomorrow. You don't know this for sure. And is that you gotta live today. You don't gotta postpone things that you want to do. So a lot of people started doing either crazy things.
You must not postpone things. You must not postpone things. Instead of you don't gotta postpone. Sure, like live for today.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is the war started during the pandemic. It was still going pretty strong at the time that the war started, so it was like a double whammy.
Yeah, but once the war started, the war got prioritized much more, and people forgot about COVID in a day.
Yeah, of course.
Because I always so for example, I always wore a mask, and a lot of people wore masks. When you go into a supermarket, you can see everyone wearing a mask. But the first day of the war, I go into the supermarket, no one's wearing the mask because this was such not a priority at all in comparing to the war. So yeah, but people still. I think I had COVID a couple of months ago, and some of my friends had COVID as well. It's still a thing.
Is this still a thing in your country? Because
Yeah.
oh, okay, all right, okay. So what's ahead? What's ahead once the war's over? Do you have some big plans?
Well, I'm not sure right now because I don't know when the war is over, when the war will be over, and how it will end. So I will, I will try to. I will see how it goes, and then I will plan something. But now the top priority is winning the war. So I feel like all people should work towards that goal together, even if they are not in the military, but they still can work and donate and do a lot of useful stuff, volunteering and all of that. Everyone should be focused on it.
And what about your relationships with your friends and family? And you said people moving around all the time, and of course the everyday stresses of war weighing down on people. Are you noticing people, I don't know, behaving differently, or how are your friendships and relationships with people?
They are good, actually. I don't think people behave differently, actually. I think when the war started, at some point, people grew up just a little bit, but this was a collective thing. This has happened to all the people, so you might not notice people that you talked with before the war and after the war. I don't think something has changed, actually. From all my relationships, I'm not sure if something changed in terms of that.
So can you guys go out as whenever you want? I mean, can you just go out and hang out with your friends, or is there more of a no, maybe we should stay in and like during the pandemic, people weren't going out, they were just on Zoom or whatever. Do you have in-person meets with your friends and family just as often?
Yeah, we do. You cannot let me translate this word because there is a certain word and I don't know.
Okay, what is it?
These are specific hours where you
curfew.
Cannot go outside.
Curfew.
Curfew, yeah. And we have this during at night. So, for example, it might differ for different cities, but in Kyiv it's from 12 to 5 a.m. at night.
Okay, but
no one is allowed to go outside.
Okay, so at night. But you guys probably had curfews during the pandemic as well, right? Because most parts of the world did.
Yeah, we did have, but they were not. They were not. I don't know if you got caught during the pandemic. I'm not sure if they even fined you. Like you could have just received the warning or something. But right now it's not. You're not allowed to go there.
Okay.
There will be some sort of a punishment.
Okay. I mean, it's not too difficult to adhere to it. Just stay home at midnight to
Friday. Of course.
Yeah. Okay. And thank goodness you guys are still. It's not affected your internet. That's the main thing because that's your lifeline to the world. Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
So, what about? Are you doing a lot of online learning?
A little bit, yeah. I'm doing some. I would say I'm doing some, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what do you, aside from English, what are your other educational pursuits?
So for now, it's machine learning.
Mm-hmm. What exactly is that?
So machine learning is about is about creating algorithms and training. It's it's when you teach your computer to do certain things. It's like so there is artificial intelligence, and machine learning is a part of artificial intelligence.
Okay, gotcha. So are you into ChatGPT and AI sites like that?
In things like that, yeah, slightly.
Oh, okay, cool. What kind of, okay, you said you're a software engineer. What kind of, do you build apps or what do you do?
Yeah, I build apps mostly for web, sometimes for mobile. Yeah, I think that's it. Mostly web, mobile apps. These can be different types of apps. Yeah, something like this.
And nothing's changed in terms of your work.
No.
All right, that's good. And hey, you can feel free to ask me anything.
Oh, I've been answering a lot of questions, so I forgot that I could ask.
Tell me about your love of music and what do you do to indulge? Do you listen? Do you write songs? Do you listen only, or what do you do?
Yeah, I do write songs because I really like music. One of the things that I like about music is that this is something that, so music is legacy, and people, when an artist dies, this artist will still live with people, and not only legacy, but I like the fact that music can connect you to certain times or certain places, and when you can hear certain songs from the past and you will associate it with different places or people or times in the past. So I really like that music gives you certain feelings.
It sure does, because I do a lot of traveling, and a lot of times I travel by myself, and I have my AirPods in, and I'll play a certain song, and let's say I'm viewing a beautiful panorama. So like when I play that song again, it's like I see that panorama, that beautiful view all over again. It's very evocative.
Yeah.
Have you traveled around Ukraine?
Yeah, I did.
All over?
Not all over. I want to do all over. I want to travel all over. But I think I've been to maybe slightly more than a half of Ukraine.
Oh, okay. How about outside of Ukraine? Europe?
I've been to Hungary once.
Uh-huh.
But I couldn't. Like, this was my only trip actually, because when I actually started to do a lot of planning about traveling, it was right before COVID hit.
Traveling,
yeah.
Did you go to Budapest?
But excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you give me 1 minute? I think I have transferred the door. There is a courier or something.
So we ended the chat right here. It was a natural stopping point anyway, and we were up on the hour. So that's it. Thanks for watching and listening, everyone, and remember to enjoy the journey. See you next time. Bye-bye.